Hello, NSU fans, and welcome to our first Spartan Sideline report of the 2013 baseball season here on NSUSpartans.com. I'm Ross Gordon, the play-by-play voice of Norfolk State, joined by Matt Mihalik, Sports Information Director, and baseball head coach Claudell Clark. Baseball season is right around the corner, and the Spartans are gearing up for another season of America's pastime. Fans are going to see a much different lineup compared to last year, with 14 newcomers looking for playing time, as well as several players who missed at least part, if not all, of last season due to injury. And Matt, this is a team which last year didn't really have the numbers hitting the ball like Coach Clark wanted. And this is going to be a season to see whether they can get those power numbers and their batting numbers up.
Well, it was a very young team last year. A lot of guys starting for the first time, a lot of freshmen in the lineup for the first time as well last year. We saw them come on down the stretch last season and really start to peak toward the end. So hopefully the Spartans can continue that momentum into the 2013 season.
You talk about this 2013 season, and we're going to see a team where, again, some names that we've known in the past that will come back. Sammy Serafine, who missed all last season, he was injured. Justin Lee was injured a little bit last year at the end of the season. He's coming back. Plus, you have some names that will be familiar names, Tyon Orrs of the world, and you have those guys that are coming back. You have a nice little nucleus of young players coming back who have 2 or 3 years left here at Norfolk State to really build this program up.
Yeah, basically 6 returning starters from the everyday lineup last year. But again, they're going to be pushed by a pretty good recruiting class too. A lot of new faces, as you mentioned, are going to be contending for spots in that lineup. So it really should be an interesting season to see how it all plays out.
Matt, baseball is a game of pitching and hitting. And last year we pitched the ball pretty solidly. And this year you lose one starter, but you really have the majority of those guys back, led by probably Justin Body. He fits the mold, has the frame, has the arm, and he's the kind of guy who you can hopefully pin your hopes on.
Yeah, Body had a really nice season last year. Was really consistent throughout the year. Also saw some good things from Chris Horn. So there's definitely a veteran pitching presence in that lineup, and really pitching has always been a staple here at NSU under Claudell Clark. So we always look for great things from the staff.
Claudell Clark, one of the first greats in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference for Norfolk State, throwing the baseball. He's the head coach at Norfolk State University. First of all, Claudell, welcome to the program. Second of all, let's just start talking about last year moving into this year. Team didn't win the championship last year, like I know every coach wants, but you saw some good things going into this year.
Well, like I said, we pitched the ball extremely well last year. We at one point you wanted to win every game. But at one point, I think we had 9 or 10 losses by 1 run, and they weren't 10-9s. They were 2-1s. They were 1-0. So anytime you're playing that caliber of team, holding them to 1, 2, 3 runs, you're doing something right. We just had some very young guys at the plate, and in the game of baseball, you have to have a certain number of at-bats underneath your belt, to combat that type of pitching. So we're hoping that those young men, step up and learn from the experience they've gotten to kind of carry the load this year.
Coach, tell us a little bit about your off-season program, if you will. You always have a very a lengthy and competitive fall schedule where you're playing scrimmages against each other and some outside teams. Give us a sense for how the off-season went for your team this year.
Well, I was very pleased with it. Coach Joey Seal and Coach Wiley Lee, Coach Andrew Sutton did a very good job of putting together a tremendous daily practice regimen for our guys. Coach Bridgman challenged us 3-4 times a week in the weight room. And I was very pleased with the guys on what they did on the field and off the field in terms of conditioning in the weight room to get ready for this season. I felt like our practices were very upbeat, very organized, and we got a lot out of everything we did. Just up to yesterday, we're still pushing our guys and challenging our guys, even the week of the game. Just trying to push them to get better and then challenge themselves at every avenue, getting ready for this season.
Matt mentioned we have 6 starting position players returning, 4 pitchers returning that pitched heavy innings for us last year. Mixed with the new guys coming in, how has the team gelled thus far, especially coming off a fall season now into the spring?
Well, like I said, everything starts from the top, and I think the coaching staff was on the same page with their expectations, with what we demanded of our players on and off the field. I think that has spilled down to the type of players that we have. We have a consistent makeup of the players that we want in terms of the new guys, the returners. They're really buying into what the coaching staff has preached. So as a whole, I think the team is really going in the right direction. Everybody is hungry to work hard, hungry to be the best they can be. And, they understand that they're going to be challenged every day, and they welcome that challenge.
One of your top returnees, coach, in your lineup definitely would be junior outfielder Cameron Day, first-team all-conference pick last year. Really came into his own last year. He didn't play a lot as a freshman, stepped into a starting role nicely as a sophomore, hit over 350 for you. What can we expect from Cameron now in his junior season for you this year?
Well, we expect him to go right back in the middle of the lineup again with some transfers, which I'm sure we'll talk about. We have some guys that kind of protect him and hit around him, but he's going to have to be in that 3 or 4 spot, which he has prepared himself to do so. And it looks like every indication says that he's going to be successful in that role again. In terms of pitching to guys, baseball is about a game of protection. So we have some pretty tough hitters in front of him, pretty tough hitters behind him. And he should see some pitches to hit. If he maintains a disciplined approach, I think he'll have another good year, and he won't have to put as much pressure on himself. So, that could really spell out some good things.
We hit 268 last year as a team, and I know that's not, if anybody looks at it, not the number anybody would like to see. I know not the number you would like to see, and I know that's not a true reflection of what the team was last year. Talk a little about, with the additions this year, what you expect from your team as a lineup, especially hitting the ball.
Well, addressing last year, with all due respect to the work that we did and the players we had, we harped on hitting, but the guys still gave a tremendous effort. I'll say that first. There's some things that we reworked internally about how we prepared for games. Some recruiting had to be done on some additional offensive players because you had to hit the baseball in college. You can pitch all you want to if you can't just score some runs and generate some offense and kind of scare the other team in a sense. This is not going to work. So the guys, they have worked hard and they've learned some different things. We've, again, put together some different practice scenarios to challenge our hitters a little bit more, and then doing some sheer additional recruiting. I think we'll be where it is we want to be, which is, close to a 300 mark in this conference to go along with the pitching that we have.
You mentioned recruiting, Coach, and you brought in a really big recruiting class this year, 14 newcomers, including a number of junior college players. Who are some of the guys to look out for from your recruiting class in the offseason?
I think our most prominent hitter would be Zach Markell out of Potomac State, who has a proven track record of hitting, and he's continued that in our fall and preseason workouts. Cody Ellis is another transfer, another left-handed hitter, left-handed hitting second baseman, infielder. So, we expect good things out of him. Kyle Voss is a pretty powerful freshman. See some time at third base, see some time at DH. Pretty strong bat. Bat's a strong point. Defense is coming. But, again, guys who can kind of generate some things. We talked about Justin Lee having a better year, fully healthy this time. Cameron Day again, Tyon Orr again, not so much pressure. A guy that you will hear some more about, Ryan Montgomery. Had a lot of pressure on him to do some things last year. Now you have a little bit more help, and I think we can get him into a part of the batting lineup where he's more comfortable, and he can get back to his all-MEAC, ways from 2011, because, we can't forget that he was one of the best hitters in the conference, and I think we can get him back on track to that point.
We lost some key pitchers last year, but we returned Body, Horn, and Salter. Talk a little about some of those additions to the pitching staff and how much of a luxury it is to have those 3 guys who are inning eaters and guys who can get some outs and pitch to contact, how they help you with integrating those new guys.
Well, like I say, Body and Horn. Horn being second team all SID. Body could have been easily, with some more run support, probably an all MEAC pitcher. Those guys really calm things down. When the season starts, you have 2 guys to go out at the front line who are going to give you 5, 6, 7 innings with minimal damage. And that gives our new offense and some of our newer players, even returners, a chance to kind of settle into the game. There's no sense of urgency to where we have to score this large number of runs in the first inning because our pitching is weak. That's not true. We know when Body comes out, when Horn comes out, it's going to be minimal contact to the other team. And they proved that last year from Big East all the way down to Mid-Eastern athletic opponents. We have 3 guys that come to mind, Troy Applin, Cooper Jones, and J.D. Johnson, who've really done a good job coming in as freshmen, throwing strikes, being very effective, pretty good secondary pitches. Raymond Morton has really stepped up his game since coming off injury last year, missing the entire year due to a broken arm, and has increased his velocity and also dropped his arm slot, so that's double trouble for opposing hitters. So, we're looking forward to good relief as well. And Richie Salter last year closed out Old Dominion, closed out William & Mary, and has always shown his stuff to be a starter. Is moving in the rotation, and another strike thrower, another guy who commands 3 pitches. So, again, more calmness going into the game, knowing that we're going to get a good start and that we don't have to rush to get anything going. We can play our game.
Coach, for the casual fan who maybe only saw you a couple times during the year last year, may not have realized that you really faced some hardships before the year began last year. You mentioned Ray Morton suffering a broken arm. Ryan Shook had off-season surgery. He was lost for the year before it began, as well as Sammy Seraphine, but now you have all 3 of those guys, experienced guys, back. What does that mean for your team?
The keyword experience. older guys. They've been in these situations before. They know how to carry themselves through these situations. They know some of the things to look for in the other team. So that's going to, again, help to calm things and help younger guys to take some pressure off of them and understand they can follow these guys into battle. Also, for their offensive and pitching production, we need that. We're just not so deep to where we can lose core players and survive, unfortunately. Our recruiting is getting better, our program is growing, but, we need our frontline guys out there. So to have a Shook back, to have a Seraphine back, to have a Ray on that mound, again, increased velocity, better arm slot, that means a lot for us. I mean, we just cannot lose 3 key players and survive.
28 home games on the schedule this year, Coach, plus the game with the Tides over at Harbor Park. And the MEAC tournament is here for the second straight year. Talk a little about the ideas of this schedule, and when you put it together, what were some of the thoughts that you had going into the schedule?
Like I said, we want it to be, very competitive because our players have to be challenged to get ready for conference play, to get ready for the tournament. But this is Division I baseball, and over the course of their experience, they expect to play the highest level of teams to see where they are. We put together the schedule to be, of course, most advantageous to us, and that is, with a good number of home games, the games spread it out so our guys can have plenty of rest and recovery. And then obviously the Tides game to get a tremendous amount of exposure for our program and to continue to grow our local fan base. And then, captivating or cultivating with the, or culminating, with the MEAC tournament, to try to have that thing on our field to have the home field advantage for us to win it.
Baseball is not the only sport going on right now at Norfolk State University. Now it's time to take a look at other news from around Norfolk State University Athletics Department with the Spartan Sports Sideline Minute with Chandrea Lee.
Thanks, Ross, and hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first installment of the Spartan Sideline Sports Minute. I'm Chandrea Lee, and I'm here to bring you all of the news and notes going around the Norfolk State Athletics program. The NSU men's tennis team went 2-0 over the weekend with a 6-1 win over Christopher Newport and a 4-3 victory against fellow MEAC opponent South Carolina State. This was South Carolina State's first regular season conference loss since March 27, 2010, when the Bulldogs lost to FAMU. The Spartans improved to 1-0 in the conference and 3-3 overall. NSU returns to the courts again on February 16th as they take on Liberty at the Virginia Beach Tennis and Country Club, and then the Spartans will travel to Williamsburg, Virginia on February 17th to take on William & Mary. The men's track team also competes this weekend as they travel to Prince George's County to try and win their 8th consecutive MEAC Indoor Track and Field Championship. The meet will be held at the Prince George's County Athletic Complex in Landover, Maryland. And finally, the men's basketball team will have this Saturday off, but will travel across the water to take on the Pirates of Hampton University in the Battle of the Bay, the Basketball Way, on ESPNU with a special game time of 7 p.m. That will do it for this week's edition of the Spartan Sideline Sports Minute. I'm Chandrea Lee, and now back to you, Ross.
Thanks, Chandrea. The Spartans begin their 2013 season on Friday, February 15th against Navy at Marty L. Miller Field at 1 p.m., part of a 3-game series this weekend with the Midshipmen. NSU will play 28 regular season games this year at home, and for the second year in a row, will host the MEAC tournament on their home field. For the second time in 3 years, NSU will also play the Norfolk Tides AAA team at Harbor Park, set for Tuesday, April 2nd. As always, we would like to thank the NSU Creative Services Department for all of their help here today, as well as Coach Clark for his time. For all of the news on Norfolk State University athletics, please log on to the web at www.nsuspartans.com. For Matt Mahalik, I'm Ross Gordon and Coach Clark. I thank you for watching the Spartan Sideline Report on NSUSpartans.com.